So July 14th, 2003 was the absolute worst day of my life, and began the worst season of my life. My family, my stepdad, my mom, my sister, and her friend, they're both 17, were on their way home from a weekend vacation, headed to our house. Before they got there, somewhere around Brownsboro, they were hit head on. My mother was killed instantly. My younger sister was critically injured. We later found out that the girl driving the other car was an 18-year-old who was coming down off of a 3-day meth binge, passed out behind the wheel. She had no recollection of the accident itself and came out with one broken leg. Within 2 or 3 days, she was out and about, had gone home, and at that time wasn't even aware that someone had passed away. Our life went into a whirlwind. My husband and I were barely 30. We had a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, and inherited a critically injured 17-year-old. I had to walk away from my job to take care of her. After weeks and weeks in ICU, she was sent home to us to lay flat on her back for over 4 months. It was easier to name the bones that were not broken than the bones that were. Her pelvis was crushed to the extent that they couldn't do anything, and we just had to let her heal. With her physical healing, her emotional healing was huge. She was unable to attend our mother's funeral, and so never said goodbye to her. We were thrown into a situation that we had no idea how to go through. I would say that over the first 2 years, we encountered total devastation in every area of our lives. Within those 2 years, the girl in the other car had never been arrested. It was such a process. I didn't understand the process. And every day that I watched Stephanie lay in the bed, every day that she suffered, and every day that we would have to rush her to the hospital, or that she would choke on her own vomit, and I would think that she was going to die. The anger inside of me grew every day. Every day, the bitterness. I didn't understand why we were paying the price. So I made it my life's mission at that point to see that she paid for what she had done. And I did. 2 years down the road, we got our day in court. She was guilty and sentenced to 7 years in prison. When she went to prison, I thought, I get to breathe. You know, my fight is, the fight's over. 9 months in, I get the first call from the parole board saying, you need to prepare. In 3 months' time, she'll be going up for parole. And every scab that had begun to form ripped off. I had to go right back to the beginning, right back, and all of the hate, all of the everything just comes right back. I had no fight left, none. And for whatever reason, that day, the 5th year, I told the guy, I said, you know what? This is the year that I'm done. All I have to say is to her, this is the year I start praying for you. So I did. In the process, she contacts me through a letter. And when I opened the letter and began to read it, it was these big bubble words with big hearts over the eyes. And it read as if my little girl had written it. And I realized that she was still that little girl. I really think the Lord was allowing me to see her through his eyes. And he told me as clear as day in my spirit, she is my child, and I love her as much as I love you. At the same time, he not so gently takes me back to me when I was that age. My parents divorced when I was 13. From that age to my early 20s, I was a mess, a complete mess. And he showed me specifically things in my life that had happened, choices I had made, and that I knew that without the prayers of my mother and the grace of God, I could literally be sitting in her place. We decided to move forward with a mediation where I would actually go to Gatesville Women's Prison and spend 2 days. The second day, the end of the second day, I would actually meet her. So whenever they were bringing her over, I remember her sergeant walking in before her and saying, "She's so nervous." She walked up to me and just hugged me and began to cry on my shoulder. And it was so strange because I remember it. I knew I was saying something, but I didn't feel like it was me. I didn't know where it was coming from. And so all of a sudden I realized that I'm consoling her. She's crying on my shoulder and I am perfectly calm. And I am saying, it's gonna be okay. Don't worry, it's all gonna be fine. And I truly believe at that moment, it was not me. I believe that her father was loving her. And I told her all about the love of Jesus. And that I knew my mom would forgive her. And that our family, because of God's grace and love and mercy in our life, were able to forgive her. I think I've learned a lot about forgiveness over the last 12 years. But I would say the easiest way to put it is I've realized that forgiveness is a sacrifice. It is difficult. It is a process that you go through. And most of us who have accepted forgiveness, we're through our salvation, through Jesus. And we ask forgiveness over and over and over, and sometimes we don't even think about what we're asking for. But when you've had to go through the process and you realize the sacrifice, we know the price that was paid for our forgiveness. Then shouldn't we be willing to pay whatever price is necessary to forgive?